Good day, class. In this video, I will just be discussing the continuation of the first module in general biology. And since I will not be able to meet you in the next session, that is the reason why I have decided that I will just record a video instead so that in our next meeting, we will just conduct a quiz in all of Module 1. Okay, so let's continue where we left off from last meeting, which is, I still haven't shared my screen. Yan. Tama na ba yun? Share. Okay. Which is this. The chemistry of life. As for everyone's information, actually all organisms have the elements carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, and oxygen in them, and 96.5% of their weight actually composes this four elements. And then also these elements that are in purple color are the elements that are essential for humans, meaning we as humans need to ingest or take in food that are rich in these atoms or elements in order for us to function well. And then also, there are some elements in green color like this chromium, vanadium, silicon, nickel, so on and so forth, that are suggested to be essential for humans. So meaning, these are some of the elements that are used as cofactors or like components of the enzymes that are, pangalan yan, somehow being studied na also essential or like suggested to be essential for our daily activities or like lifestyles to function well. Okay. Sige. Aside from the four elements that I have mentioned that are very essential for living organisms, these are again carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen. So we actually have a mnemonics on this, which is CHON. The molecule that supports life is water. So we as living organisms have actually originated or like have sprung up, diba, from the deepest of the sea. So because of that, life is actually thought to have originated in water. And of course, Earth as it is actually made up of 2/3, diba, of water. So, pangalan yan? An organism's body is also made up of 60% water. So why is water very important in living organisms? This is because aside from water being the universal solvent, it also facilitates the chemical reactions that are happening, diba, inside the body of an organism. So it's like the medium where those metabolic functions are happening. That is the reason why water is very essential for the for the normal functioning of life. And then we also have to take a great emphasis on why carbon is very important in life. So all living organisms are actually carbon-based. Meaning, wala kay makitaan nga organism nga Hala, metallic di ay siya, no. So when an organism takes up organic or carbon-containing molecules from its environment, it can use them for, number one, for energy, diba? Like we eat rice because it's rich in carbohydrates. And then carbohydrates is actually rich in carbon chains. So those chains, diba, are actually sources of energy. So by breaking down the carbon molecules, energy is released from that, which can drive various cellular processes. And then also, the second reason why we need to take up carbon-containing molecules is for production. So carbon molecules consumed are restructured to form useful biomolecules for the organism to thrive and grow. So what are these biomolecules that we are pertaining to? So these are the number one, proteins, diba? So yung proteins kay pangalan yan. Carbon-based din. Yes. I'm not really that well-versed in chemistry, but I'm trying my best to, pangalan yan, to explain this. And then DNA. DNA is also made up of sugar and nucleotides. Yes. May katong phosphate group kay PO man to siya. So, katong sugar naman to siya mga carbon. So, these gitake up ni mga carbon-containing molecules, more pud ni siya og gi-break and then i-rebuild na pod for something that you need to use in your body, something like that. Okay. So, why isn't it here? There are actually 4 families of small organic molecules. When you say organic, this is carbon-based, diba? Found in the cell. Or these small organic molecules are actually called as monomers. So, number 1, these are the monosaccharides. Number 2, fatty acids. Number 3, nucleotides. And number 4, amino acids. So as you can see in the picture, in the diagram, this first, wait lang, I'll just open my pointer. Saan yung pointer? Well, wag na lang. This sugar here is actually, pangalan, a monosaccharide. Ito siya yung pinapakita dito. And then, the one at the top rightmost is an amino acid, the monomer that is used for building proteins or polypeptides. Polypeptides, and kapag nakaano na proteins na siya. And then, next, etong nasa center is a fatty acid. As you can see, it has a lot of carbon chains like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 ka-carbons. And then, lastly, the nucleotide, diba? Nucleotide is the monomer that is like somehow the building block of your DNA, RNA, diba? So, although it's not written in here, kasi eto siya na form is hindi na pinakita yung mga C, but these mga corners here, ito siya, wait lang, I'll use a red pointer to this one, this corner, this, and then also, ito siya sa sugar na corner. These are actually carbon elements or carbon atoms in these monomers or in this certain monomer, the nucleotide. So as you can see, all these four na mga monomers, yung common sa kanila na nakikita mo talaga na marami is yung carbon. And then also you can see, Diba kung if we recall what I just said a while ago, there are also lots of O, and then also lots of H. And lastly, there are also a little bit of N, diba? Used in making the nucleotide. So again, the elements C, H, O, and N are very important in living organisms. Okay, I'll just erase all the annotations. Let's move on. Bakit ayaw niyo move on? Yan. So from those monomers, again, yung monosaccharides, fatty acids, amino acids, and also nucleotides. These monomers form links of long chains to create polymers. So from monomers, we are creating polymers of biological macromolecules or biomolecules in short. So here in the uppermost portion, you can see that the monosaccharides, wait lang. I'll use annotation again. But why isn't it working? Ayan. Monosaccharides, so on and so forth, are actually the building blocks of the cell. And in order to make larger units of the components of the cell, they need to create long chains. And from these monosaccharides, you are going to make up polysaccharides, the larger ones, and then fatty acids. Then you will going to make the fats, lipids, and membranes, the cell membrane, pangalan yan, lipids, so like cholesterol ba? Yeah. And then fats, yeah. And then amino acids are going to make the polypeptides. And then if those polypeptides will be, pangalan yan, conformed into different na mga shapes and foldings, then mahimo na siyang proteins. And then lastly, the nucleotides, along with apil man tong lagi nucleic acid man itong so the nucleotides, when you have lots and lots of units of nucleotides, then you are going to make the nucleic acids such as the DNA and then also the RNA. Okay, so what is the actual application to this? For example, you have bits and bits of these subunits or building blocks, like for example, some sugars or monosaccharides, and then amino acids and nucleotides. What are you going to, form with these subunits? So through bonding and, pangalan yan, works of the enzymes and yeah, you are going to make different macromolecules from these, such as globular proteins and also RNA. So after that, you already have globular proteins and then RNA. Certain processes are still going inside the cell. And then these macromolecules, the proteins in the RNA, will be assembled into different na mga assemblies, such as this one organelle, which is what we call as the ribosome. So basically, the ribosome is just like, an assembly of, I think, two protein subunits, 60S and 30S, and then with an RNA in it, tapos yeah, that's it. That's the ribosome. Yeah. It's okay. Now we have already made one organelle of the cell from those subunits that we have or monomers that we have. Okay. Next. Let's discuss the different biomolecules. Biomolecules ba yung term? That are very important in living organisms. So first off, we have our biomolecules or the polymers. First off, we have the carbohydrates. So carbohydrates are actually the source of fuel and building material, diba? Of living organisms. There are actually three types, three types of carbohydrates. Yes. So we have monosaccharides or the simple sugars. So I will just, I have just shown you the different types of simple sugars here, but it's not actually necessary that you will need to, memorize this. This is just a little bit of an overview. So when you say simple sugars, they are just one unit of sugars. So like for example, we have glucose, diba? Glucose is found in your rice. So the simple sugar in your rice. And then it's called as it's known to have 6 carbons in it. So that's why it's called a 6 carbon sugar. So like for example, if we count it here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then lastly here, 6. Yan, ganon. So yan yung parang basis ng groupings nila. As to how many carbons are there in that sugar. So yeah, fructose in fruits, and then um yung ribose, mao ni siya ang sugar nga naa sa imong ribonucleic acid, and then deoxyribose sa imong DNA. Yun. Next. Another type of carbohydrates is the disaccharide. So unlike the monosaccharides, isa lang na unit, disaccharides, di means two, diba? So 2 sugars. So we have here maltose. It has 2 molecules of glucose. Lactose, it has 1 molecule of glucose and then 1 molecule of galactose. So when you say lactose, diba, it's from milk. And then sucrose, milk. Milk sa pangalan yan. Sa breast. Yes. And then sucrose, pangalan yan, from sugarcane. So it's composed of 1 unit of glucose and 1 unit of fructose. Yeah. And then the third group is the polysaccharide. So the difference from the first two and this polysaccharide is that it has hundreds to thousands of monosaccharides. So there are actually 2 groups of polysaccharides depending on their function. One is for storage and also the second one is for structure. So in plants, a good example of storage polysaccharide is starch, diba? Like for example, sa potato. So yung kinakain mong patatas is actually rich in starch. Yeah, starch granules. And then next is yung glycogen. This is the carbohydrate found in your muscles in the animals. Okay. And then which is used for storage. So like for example, if you're exercising and all, and then, naubos na ang aking mga pangalan yan, kinain na, na-digest na glucose from what you have eaten. So the next step for your body is to break down those glycogen in your muscle, something like that. Yeah. And then next is these the second type of polysaccharide is the structural polysaccharide. So meaning this is actually used for like building the components or like the parts of your organism. So like for example, in plants, you have cellulose. Cellulose is actually an important component in the cell wall, diba? Of the plants. So that is the reason why rigid ang imong mga plants. And they can break down dyan siya. Unlike in animals na kung imo siyang i-touch, like, pwede pa siyang mag-deform and all. But in plants, dili gyud siya mag-deform. And then, also in animals, we have chitin, di ba? Chitin is a structural polysaccharide in the shells of your crustaceans. Crustaceans, may tayo nila. You know, the shellfish. Yes. And then, what is the function or unsa man day gamit sa mga carbohydrates that we, eat and yeah. So first off, of course, 'di ba, yung parang pinaka-basic is this is our source of energy. But aside from that, these are actually functional and also structural components of your body or the cell. Yes. So like for example, glycoproteins. Glycoproteins, more ni siya og kanang ano, it's a mixture. Like, pangalan niya, like carbohydrate nga part, tapos na protein na part. So, ang glyco, ang carbohydrate nga part, tapos ang protein nga part, kaya ang, yes, kaning protein na, na, na part of the words, like that. And then also glycolipids, same as that, your lipid or your fatty acid is inserted with a carbohydrate part. So that's why it's called glycolipid. And then these are actually found in lots of structures of the cell. So like for example, in your cell membrane, you have glycoproteins. That's the reason why you have different blood types, di ba? Because they have different glycoproteins in the cell membrane. So, iba yung glycoproteins ng blood type A, AB, O, yeah. Wala palang glycoprotein yung O. That's why it's called O. Okay. And then also immunological tags. So, the reason why, pangalan yan, yung mga antibodies, like, para yun silang mga lock and keys. So, parang ganon. Tag sila. Yung antigen, yes. Pangalan yan, ang imong antigen, kay mo attach na siya. Pero ang antigen kay protein. Yeah. Pero most of the time, kay like, for example, ng imong bacteria, kay naano siya yung mga carbohydrate na components sa iyang outer shell or like sa membrane or cell wall, nga mauna siya ang attachment sa imong antibodies. Yes. Para mas dali ra siya nga ma-detect and then to degrade by your antibodies. And lastly, to bind and carry growth factors. Okay, second part is the second na pangalan yan, polymer. Polymer ba yung term? Or biomolecule is the nucleic acids. So, ano yung gamit ng mga nucleic acids? They actually store and transmit information about the living organism, right? So, there are two types, the deoxyribonucleic acid or DNA. It is basically your blueprint, diba? The blueprint of a certain individual or a certain organism that it has actually inherited from its parents if that organism has been, produced through sexual reproduction. But if it's asexual, so like sartos gikan kinutlo mo or gyapon ng DNA, right? So yes. And then the second one is the ribonucleic acid. So wala tong iha. It's just yeah, ACID lang or RNA. And there are actually three types of RNA: messenger RNA, ribosomal RNA, and transfer RNA. Maybe you will encounter this or like pero murag dili mapud kaayo jud need nga explain this siya further. Okay. So, I just want you to know that there are actually four, five, five types of nucleic acids. So, in DNA, we are just using four or like, pangalan yan, yung nandoon lang na mga nitrogenous bases sa pangalan yan, sa DNA are just this adenine, or A, guanine, G, and then C, cytosine, and then T, thymine. And then, mo ni sila nga mga nitrogenous bases ang like magpuli-puli lang sa imong DNA para makahi mo blueprint. And then, while it is being transmitted or like, ano sa pangalan na, translation, yung translate kay ano pa man. Wait lang, I'll just search it. Replication. Replicate man kay maghimog DNA. Transcription. So while it's being transcribed into pangalan yan, an mRNA or messenger RNA. So pangalan yan, apulihan actually ang imong thymine, this T, into a uracil. So you will not be able to see letter T or thymine or this nitrogenous base in your mRNA. Yes. So what is the difference between a DNA and an mRNA? Basically, if you look at, diba, their pangalan yan, their diagram. I'll just erase the annotations. Ayan. So your DNA is actually double-stranded, while your RNA is single-stranded. And then another difference is that in the DNA, thymine yung nitrogenous base niya, and then uracil naman yung sa RNA. And yeah. Then DNA is found in the nucleus, while the RNA, pangalan yan, is being used in the ribosomes. But actually, it's not inserted in the ribosome. It's just in the cytoplasm na portion. Yeah. And then, the third one is yung lipids. So, lipids are actually diverse class of non-polar biological molecules used for long-term energy storage, like fats, oils, and as elements of biological structures, like phospholipids, cell membranes, and waxes. Actually, when we had a training in pangalan yan, in UP Las Bañas, I was actually shocked that the instructors there did not include the lipids as pangalan macromolecular biomolecules because they said na hindi naman masyadong malalaki daw ang mga fatty acids. Pero yeah, that's it. I'm not sure about that. Just sharing it. So, what are the functions of lipids? First, they are used for signaling. Second, they are also sources of energy, right? So like for example, if you are doing workout, like you really have to, cut down your carbohydrate intake so that your body will utilize your pangalan, storage na fat, di ba? Fatty storage. Ganon. And then third, they are also membrane components. So actually, your cell membrane is inserted with some cholesterol para to make it, pangalan yan, less rigid, para mas flowy siya. And then, pangalan yan, you also have glycolipids, yung carbohydrate with lipid component. And then, of course, your cell membrane is a phospholipid. It has phosphate group, and then it has a fatty acid part in it. And then last function of lipids is for, sinabi ko naman to, storage forms of energy, such as your triglycerides. Okay. Next, the last biological macromolecule that is the protein. So proteins are actually long chains, like very long chains of amino acids and then conformed pa nga ni actually. That are being bonded or like held together by peptide bonds. So how is a protein formed? You have long chains of amino acids and then i-ano pa na sila na pa na yung mga different pa nga shape nga i-ano. Yeah, lahi-lahion pa na sila nga shape ni helical na pay kadtong ano si panganana. Yeah, another pa. And then joke-joke pa jud into, tertiary structure. And then kapag nanis yung mga aggregates of 2 or more polypeptides, now you have that protein. So yes. So actually proteins are very important, di ba, in living organisms next to water. Yeah. So first na molecule na important in life is water. And the second is yung protein. Or yung first na biological macromolecule sa protein. Diba? Dili man to biological molecule ang water. Okay, it's first of, it's not carbon containing. Okay, just to make things clear. So, bakit naman very important ang mga proteins? It's because they have diverse functions. So, number one, there are the functions of the proteins are also the basis of their different types, diba? So number one, we have enzymatic proteins. Of course, when we say enzymes, they speed up the chemical reaction that is happening in your body. For example, when you eat food, diba? It's not enough that you are chewing it. You need to have digestive enzymes and in your gastric na and then also still have amylase, the enzyme in your saliva to break down the food that you're eating, diba? Facilitate the, or like pangalan yan, fast track the breakdown of the food that you have taken in. Second, structural proteins. So from the word itself, it is used for support. So like for example, collagen and elastin, diba? And then storage protein. This is for the storage of amino acids. So like for example, ovalbumin in egg white and casein in milk. And then transport protein. This is for the transport of other substances. One great example of this type of protein is hemoglobin, diba? Which carries oxygen in your blood. Yes, so that it can transport that oxygen in the different parts of your body. And then we have hormonal proteins for the coordination of your body activities. Like for example, insulin, diba? So, like, kung like, gamay ra mong insulin kay like, less pa din mong energy, na. Kay, dili man maano, ma-breakdown ng imong carbohydrates kung may insulin, may nga na. Kay, more kung mas signal, may nga. So, yes. And then, receptor proteins. This is for the response of cell to chemical stimuli. So, like for example, the receptors in your nerve cell, and then contractile and motor proteins for the movement, like your flagella and cilia. One great example is, the tail, flagellar tail in your sperm cell. Diba? So that is a motor protein. And then, lastly, I think this is the last one, defensive protein. So, of course, it is used for the protection against diseases, like your antibodies. So, antibodies are actually proteins pala. Antibodies are proteins that combat pathogens. Okay, so that's it for the introduction of biology. So it's it all from the definition to the history to the hierarchy, so ba, properties, and then lastly the chemistry of life. So next meeting, we will be having a quiz in module 1. Before I would like to end this video, I just want you to share that you need to be vigilant in, doing your answers in the laboratory, as of course, it has been very common that we are actually using ChatGPT, diba? So, actually, I'm not against that, but I just want you to, at least learn the skills on how to write first, before you actually use or like rely on the chat GPT, because it's actually not, you know, God or something, or not, it doesn't make any mistakes, because I tell you, it can still make a lot of mistakes. So, one example of this is that we made a little bit of game, or like, play with mom and dad last time, and I just want to share this to you. So, this is from a post that mom and I saw, and then, yeah, we kind of also did it. So, where is it? The dangers of ChatGPT. Sure. There is actually this, one simple question that we did. We just asked, how many R's are there in the word strawberry? So if you're a human, of course, you can just easily say that, there are actually 3 R's, diba, in the word strawberry. But this time, because, ChatGPT is like, still developing, and it can still make mistakes. So it said that there are actually just 2 R's in the word strawberry. And then, pangalan yan, series of debates talaga, with the user and also the chat GPT, na ilan ba talaga and all. Tapos, yeah, chat GPT is also answering it. And then in the next, wait lang. In the next part, we asked it to count the R's with us. So, ayun. And then, yan, first R, and then second R, and then third R. And then, ChatGPT said, you're right. There are actually 3 R's in the word strawberry. So, diba? And then what's actually fun is that it used the word apologize, diba? So, um, it apologized, charot, for the mistake. And then, after that, um, and then after that, it also thanked the user for correcting its mistake. And then, also, after that, when the user told it to remember its mistake, it also updated its memory. So, ayan. After in-update na yung memory, and then we made the challenge onto it na, sige daw, let's have someone check if you really learned it. So, I opened my laptop and then also asked it again. This time, it's me questioning it. So, how many R's are there in the word strawberry? And then, still the same mistake. Still has 2 R's. Its answer is still 2 R's and all. Tapos, ayan. Ayan, nag-ano pa kami. Nagdiskusyon pa. And sabi ko, I've heard from a colleague that she's taught you the correct number of R's. Tapos sabi naman niya, ha, hindi, 2 lang talaga. And then, I asked it again, sige, count it with me. And then, it realized again na there are actually 3 R's in that word. So, yeah. And then, we found out pala na when it comes to the updating of the memory of ChatGPT, it's pangalan yan, it's from user to user. So, para siyang, pangalan niya. Nakalimutan ko yung term. Yeah, user to user. So, different yung pag-update ng memory sa one user and then the next lahit na po. Tapos, pangalan yan. So, if anyone else shares something specific, tapos that you want to remember, the AI can save that information so that it can aid in the more consistent na responses that it can do through time. Yes. And then after that pala, kapag, like for example, no, na collect na yan ng modeler niya na, something like lots and lots of mistakes is happening here. Then in the next version pa pala siya na a-update. Ganun. So, dapat meron din commonalities. Hindi lahat ng mga mistakes yung na-update. So, meron pa rin checking na nangyayari. Something like that. Okay. So, yeah, ayan. So while individual conversations don't directly affect others, the overall improvements are made based on trends and patterns across many interactions. Yes. Through aggregated feedback. Yan. So yeah. And then, since nga we're hard-headed, tapos nag-update din to siya ha. Pina-update ko rin yung memory niya on my end. So, we're we tried it again in another ChatGPT version. This one is version 4. Kanina version 3. And then answer pa rin niya is 2 hours pa rin. But in Chat AI, yung parang dating app ng ChatGPT, tama na there are 3 hours in the word strawberry. So what is, the takeaway lesson in here? I want you to, whatever you read in ChatGPT, although it's very, very useful, you can, think more clearly and, it can really help you in conceptualizing whatever it is that you're doing. I want you to still, take it with a grain of salt. Always, pangalan niya. Now, how do you take it with a grain of salt? Then cite or like ask it or like murag ano, pangalan yan, ask it where the source is coming from, or you need to find for yourself the citation or like with the basis of why it's claiming this and that, diba? So don't rely too much on ChatGPT. That is the reason why in your laboratory or outputs, I have asked you to make in-text citations and also put the references in APA style so that I would see if you have really pangalan traced your answers and where it's coming from, or if it's really a reliable source. So it's fine with me if you're using ChatGPT, but you have to know if what it's telling is true or not, diba? And of course, you have to humanize it. When you say humanize, like, dili po siya murag robot o sinulti ano. Tapos like, isuwat po ninyo, basta isuwat po ninyo appeal nga, my version does not include this and that. Ay nal, nabusig na. Klaro gud nga chat GPT. Okay. And then also practice doing paraphrasing. So, pangalan yan, there are a lot of technologies that can be used for paraphrasing, but hindi talaga na ang pangalan those technologies cannot be substitute on your skill. So better that you will practice also how to paraphrase. You can even ask ChatGPT, diba? How to paraphrase. Thank you. How to paraphrase paragraphs, diba? On your answers. Yeah. I think that is enough, Chika, on how you will answer your laboratory outputs. I hope that you will not disappoint us in writing those answers. Yes. So that's it for this session. I hope you learned something. One or two things are enough for me. Wala. We will have a quiz on the next meeting, which is on Friday. Thank you.